Internet, and welcome back to Behind the Barriers Television. It is BTB TV, and this is your weekend preview. It is December. It is cyclocross season. Things are getting very, very exciting. This weekend going to be no exception. We have two races that we're going to be talking about today as part of the USA Cycling Pro CX calendar out in Bend, Oregon. We have 1 day of UCI racing, a UCI C1 event on Saturday as part of the Deschutes Brewery Cup. And then back on the other side of the country in Rhode Island, we have the Warwick Cyclocross event as part of the New England Series, 2 days of UCI C2 racing in New England. Let's talk about your weekend preview. First up is your weather. In Rhode Island, we'll go there first. It's going to be a nice, sort of a fall/wintry day. We're looking at high 30s on Saturday, low 40s on Sunday with freezing temperatures overnight. We're going to get plenty of rain during the week, so you're probably looking at frozen course in the morning, likely a very slimy course. Probably not mud at that venue, but a slimy course for the elite races in the afternoon. It's going to be a good one there. Out on the other side of the country, in Oregon, hang on to your snowballs. It is going to be frigid. Saturday, a high of 15 degrees, a low of, I think, 1 degree? Just one. Not degrees, just 1 single degree overnight. It's going to be freezing. It's going to be freezing all week long. We're probably going to see snow on Friday, but it's not like it's going to melt or anything. It's going to be cold. So looking at frozen course, ice, maybe some snow, definitely hard-packed, definitely fast. That's going to be exciting. Looking at the course preview now. In Rhode Island, I feel like I say this a lot, but it is one of my favorite courses here in New England. Sort of the unique feature there that makes it different than a lot of other courses is that it has good sand. And this isn't a volleyball pit. This isn't a truckload of sand that someone dumped in the middle of a football field. It's actually on the water. You have an actual beach, sort of like the reservoir out in Boulder for the Boulder Cup weekend, but this sand is a lot deeper. It usually gets a lot more churned up. Riders usually see it more than once per lap as well. Other than that, it's a fairly fast course. It's not a lot of elevation change. It's a lot of slow corners and a lot of accelerating out of the corner. So it tends to favor, at least in the past, more of the sprinter style of rider. So it was a Mark McCormick course back in the day. Laura Van Gilder always seems to do well there. Adam Meyerson has done really well there. Sean Milne has done really well there. Out in Oregon, like we said, it's going to be cold. It's going to be frozen. The course there, nothing spectacular. I mean, Bend, Oregon is sort of a high-altitude desert, so they have some nice man-made features. They have a really cool stair section that they've put in on the side of a hillside there. They have barriers. They have a lot of good off-cambers. Probably the thing that I'm trying to think of how I would describe this. It's almost like the back half of the course. It's like an old construction zone. It's very hard-packed dirt, and there's large rocks. It's not rocky like gravel, but there's a lot of just golf ball to baseball size sharp rocks out there that make it a very bumpy ride at the speeds that you are traveling through there at. Also makes it dangerous for flats. We've seen in the past at the USGP events there, at the National Championship events there. There have been a number of pretty tragic flat tire events. Moving on to your start list this week. I'm a little unhappy, to be honest with you, with the registration practices of the top riders in North America. We filmed this show a little earlier in the week, and every week now, I'm looking at these start sheets with 5, 6 guys pre-reg. Makes it a little hard to talk about who is going to be there, but I know for a fact that there are going to be some good riders in attendance this weekend. Here on the East Coast, in the women's race, we're looking at, like we said, it's a very Laura Van Gilder friendly course. She will be there. I look for her to be the favorite. We have Mo Bruno Roy coming off a great weekend. We have Amanda Carey, who could do very well on a course like that. On the men's side of things, most of the top New England riders with Tim and Jeremy and also Jeremy Duran, they are heading out to the West Coast, so it leaves it a little more open for a newer rider to take the top step there. One rider coming back now from Utah, formerly from New England, is Justin Lindeen. He will be coming back. It's sort of a home race for him, a home sponsor with NBX out of Rhode Island. So I look for him to be the favorite. And then I look for those guys, like we said, the sprinter-friendly guys, a guy like Adam Meyerson to work his way into the top 10. Jerome Townsend has been riding very well lately. Dan Timmerman has been riding very well just this past weekend. I look for him to maybe make an appearance on the podium with Anthony Clark. Out on the West Coast, it is the C1. Guys, if we've learned one thing about C1s this season, it is that that's how you get the racers to show up. I mean, there's no USGP, there's no series anymore. People can go wherever they choose. But a C1 guarantees you the top riders in North America, and that will be no exception this weekend. On the women's side, not sure yet about Katie or Katarina. Like we said, names are not on the registration site right now, but I'm pretty sure that Katarina will be there. Katie, I don't think so. The rest of the top women will be there. On the men's side, we're looking at that battle between Tim, Jeremy Powers, and Ryan Trebone. His hometown race, he is right there in Bend, Oregon. And then as if you've watched the Tuesday show, if you haven't, go back, watch the Tuesday show. Who's number one? Jeremy Duran, the champion, on Saturday at Bay State here in New England. He will be heading out to contest the C1. Look for him to take some of this new confidence, this great form that he has, maybe fight for the podium. Guys like Barry Wicks, former USGP overall series winner. He's out of Bend, Oregon. He will be there. It's going to be very strong racing on the men's and women's sides on both sides of the country. Good weekend. Let's talk about your SRAM key to the race. I'm running out of SRAM key to the race here, but this weekend, if I got to go with one key, it's going to be these guys right here. It's going to be gloves. 15 degrees. 15. The sun's going to be setting. They're probably going to see single-digit temperatures for the race in Bend. If you guys watched any of the post-race coverage from Bay State this past weekend, you saw it was 32 degrees and wet, and riders were talking about how they basically lost minutes in the race because they just couldn't work their hands. They couldn't feel their hands, they couldn't tell when they were shifting, they couldn't tell when they were braking, and they couldn't handle their bikes. So obviously you got to be fit. Obviously the travel into Bend is a big deal. A lot of guys flying into Portland, driving 3 hours. But the one single thing that if I were racing that I would be thinking about now as I go into that race is what are the absolute most bomb-proof, warmest finger gloves that I have, or just gloves. I don't know why I call them finger gloves. Pretty sure they're the same thing. But pack them, bring them, spectators alike. It's going to be freezing. That's it for this week, guys. Go ahead, check down below. We will have full up-to-date start sheets. Hopefully all the riders' names are now on there. We have the up-to-the-date weather reports. We have the Twitters, the Facebooks, all the things you could want. Check out the rest of the shows. We've had some really cool shows this week, some new shows lately here on BTB TV. Make sure to head on over if you're not there now. Check those out, and we will see you this weekend.